Hey guys, Jay here. I've been sick lately. I'm still not feeling that well, but hopefully I'll be able to fully recover by the day of the competition. Right now my sore throat's pretty much gone, so I have enough energy to talk. So I'm gonna try to get through as much of the material as I can until the day you guys compete. So without further ado, let's get into chapter 6. So chapter 6 talks about sleep, and sleep is really, really important. We spend about a third of our lives asleep, so that just shows you how crucial it is. Yeah, and sleep is important because if you don't sleep, you're going to suffer a lot of problems. You won't be able to respond quickly in moments that you have to. You could suffer a lot of health problems, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, depression, high blood pressure, obesity, infections, all of these things, right? So the point is, a lack of sleep is really bad. Try to get a good night's sleep for the day of the contest, guys. So I just impressed upon you all, on you why sleep is so important, but now I guess it's actually time to talk about what happens while we're sleeping. So yeah, so when you're sleeping, actually, your brain will cycle through slow wave sleep and REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep. And the brain waves in both of these situations can be seen via EEG or electroencephalography. Yeah, so when you first begin sleeping, when you enter the first hour of sleep, your brain is going to slow down. Your brain waves are going to slow down into slow wave sleep. Around the same time, your body is going to relax. You're not really dreaming during this time, and if you wake, if people when people wake up during this time, usually they can't really recall any dreams. Dreaming actually happens in the next stage of sleep, REM sleep. So I already told you about the first hour of sleep. So in the first hour of sleep, your brain's going to be slowing down. But then when you enter the next half hour of sleep, your brain waves are going to speed up. They're going to enter REM sleep. When you see REM sleep, the brain waves are really, really fast. Actually, they're almost as fast as when people are awake. This is the time when you're dreaming, and this is actually when a lot of your thoughts are sorted out. So, yeah, it's important. So, however, during this time, it's also critical to remember that even though your brain waves are really, really fast, your body is still paralyzed. Atonia, right? I mean, it's a problem if you're dreaming and you're moving around at the same time, right? That's actually a disorder, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. Yeah, so REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, is characterized by fast waves and dreaming. So during the night, you're going to be cycling between the slow wave and REM sleep cycles every 90 minutes or so, I think. I think that's what the book said. So the key thing I want you guys to remember about the cycles is that usually infants are going to be sleeping more than you guys. You guys are. I'm going to assume my audience is like a bunch of teenagers, but yeah. The point is, infants are going to be sleeping more than you guys. They'll be sleeping up to 18 hours a day, and when they sleep, they're going to be spending a lot more time in slow wave sleep. So you guys probably dream more than they do. Yeah, so that's the mechanics of sleeping, but now we have to talk about how this is regulated. That's actually a really, really complex procedure. I'll try to break it down a bit for you guys. So, when you're awake, actually it takes a lot of different parts of your brain to keep you awake, actually. So, consider it an accomplishment every time you're awake inside your boring math class. So, when you're awake, you have a lot of systems working both in the upper brainstem and in the hypothalamus. From the upper brainstem, you have nerve cells with neurotransmitters such as acetylcholine, norepinephrine, serotonin, glutamate, taking action. At the same time, in your hypothalamus, you're going to have nerve cells with orexin and histamine playing a key role as well. So all these nerve cells are going to be, with all these neurotransmitters, are going to be working together to keep your brain awake. So now, once you begin to fall asleep, you have to actually suppress these arousal systems. You have to basically tell the systems that keep you awake, okay, it's time to go to sleep. So that's done by a group of nerve cells in the hypothalamus called the VLPO, or ventrolateral preoptic nucleus. So the cells in the VLPO basically produce the inhibitory neurotransmitters ghrelin and GABA, and the VLPO nucleus with these chemicals has the role of shutting down the systems that keep you awake. So basically, the VLPO nucleus tells you to go to bed, basically. And if your VLPO nucleus is damaged, that's when you get irreversible insomnia. So, so to sum it up, the upper brainstem and the hypothalamus have a lot of parts that control wakefulness. These parts are shut down by the VLPO nucleus when you have to go to bed. Okay, so let's say like you did go to bed. Okay, so the VLPO nucleus did its job. So now you're sleeping, right? But how do you cycle between REM sleep and non-REM sleep chemically? So actually you have REM generating and REM suppressing neurons, right? And actually both of these will generate different chemicals that allow you to cycle between REM sleep and non-REM sleep. When you have REM generating neurons, you have acetylcholine glutamate, which that makes sense because glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter. It probably explains why your brain is so active, right? But then you have acetylcholine, which probably has the role of calming your muscles down, right? So that you don't move around a lot while you're sleeping. So that's the REM generating neurons with acetylcholine and glutamate. Then you have the REM suppressive neurons. So that would be in when you're entering into slow wave sleep again. That's when you have neurons with the neurotransmitters norepinephrine, serotonin, and GABA. So this is going to be really confusing, and I'm pretty sure that they won't go into this level of detail until they get to the final round, but I think it's still helpful to know. You don't know when it's going to happen, right? So, yeah. So there's a lot of chemistry involved in this. So I'll try to summarize it one more time. So wakefulness maintained by the upper brainstem and the hypothalamus. Chemicals involved with wakefulness include acetylcholine, norepinephrine, serotonin, glutamate, orexin, and histamine. These systems are shut down by the VLPO or ventrolateral preoptic nucleus when you go to bed. To cycle between REM sleep and non-REM sleep, you're going to have REM generating neurons with acetylcholine and glutamate, and REM suppressive neurons with norepinephrine, serotonin, and GABA. All right, so that's the mechanics of regulating sleep. So another thing I want to talk about when we're controlling sleep, you have to know about the concept of circadian systems, and I'm pretty sure you guys got this from your bio lectures. But essentially, circadian systems deal with how long you've been awake, the time of day and the time of night. It's controlling your body's cycles, right? And the circadian system is mainly controlled by the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is inside your hypothalamus, and it acts kind of like a clock for your body. These cells actually express clock proteins, and they go through a biochemical cycle of about 24 hours, which is our day, right? And it sets the pace for a lot of our actions. So the suprachiasmatic nucleus will actually receive input directly from your eyes, the retina. So actually, light plays a critical role in waking you up. So this is actually pretty complex, but the suprachiasmatic nucleus, when it receives inputs, it's going to send signals to another area, the subparaventricular nucleus. That will also signal the dorsomedial nucleus, and then it's going to contact the VLPO nucleus. And it's also going to contact the orexin neurons, and then that's how you get up. That's a really, really complex procedure, and again, probably the mechanics of that they're not going to question until like the final rounds or so. The point you have to know is that the suprachiasmatic nucleus acts as a master clock, and it receives inputs via light. They actually tested this. They actually tested the effect of light in waking up. Scientists have actually tested it. So the book talks about optogenetic stimulation, right? And essentially what optogenetic stimulation is that scientists used fiber optic light pulses to stimulate orexin neurons, right? And they found that actually when they do this, the orexin neurons actually activate the norepinephrine neurons in the locus coeruleus and actually help your brain wake up. The point is that light plays a critical role in waking you up. There's another part. So this is all this is like the neurotransmitter side, right? This is like neurotransmitters working with each other. Your brain's working with each other. Brain parts working with each other, receiving signals from light. But there's also the homeostatic part. So essentially, energy. Energy also plays a critical role while sleeping. So of course you guys know that ATP is the body's main source of energy. As you go through the day, though, your ATP is going to be broken down, and while you're breaking down ATP, you're going to get adenosine just by itself. Adenosine just by itself is going to it's going to pile up while you're going out through your day. Eventually, enough of it is going to make you fall asleep. However, while you're sleeping, your body is going to rebuild more ATP. For example, using that adenosine, and while it's building that more ATP using that adenosine, your adenosine levels are going to go down through the night, and that's why part of the reason why you wake up. But again, as you go through the next day, ATP is going to break down again. You're going to get more adenosine. Your body's going to fall asleep. So if there's so I've talked about a lot of complex things, but essentially your body's ability to control sleep is really, really complicated when you look at the chemical level. You have a homeostatic part going on with energy. You have the neurotransmitter side going on with so many different brain parts at once, and it's receiving signals from light. Yeah, so you guys need to read this really, really carefully if you guys want to truly get this all down. But the point is, your brain's ability to control sleep is, when you look at it, is really, really impressive. So yeah, so now the last thing that I should leave you guys with is just to talk of some of the basic disorders of sleeping. So you have obstructive sleep apnea. Your brain, that's when your airways relax too much and you can't breathe while you're sleeping. People try to lose weight, avoid alcohol, and use sedating drugs to try to cure this. But when if it's too bad, people will use like a device, like a mask, that provides air, right? It provides air streams under pressure, and it'll open up your airways. If the situation is bad enough, some people actually get surgery to correct this. So obstructive sleep apnea, it's one of the disorders you have to know. Another one you have to know is REM behavior disorder. I mentioned earlier that that when you're in REM sleep, even though your brain is really, really active, your body is paralyzed, right? So your body, if it's not paralyzed, that's actually a disorder, and that's the disorder called REM behavior disorder. Your mind is in REM sleep, but your body's not paralyzed. As a result, you're actually going to get up and start acting out your dreams. That's not normal. So actually, both disorders, this disorder can be this disorder can be very common in people with Parkinson's disease. That makes sense because Parkinson's disease actually results in less control of your body, right? So when people treat this disease, generally they can use both drugs for Parkinson's, or they can also use a benzodiazepine called clonazepam. Now, throwback to earlier chapters, remember that benzodiazepines are drugs that work with GABA, which is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. Also remember that some drugs that we use for Parkinson's include levodopa, which is used to synthesize dopamine. Dopamine is important to find control of our movements. And the final disease I should talk about is narcolepsy. Narcolepsy, that's when the hypothalamic cells that produce the neurotransmitter orexin deteriorate. As a result of deterioration of your orexin-producing cells, you're going to have sleep attacks during the day. You're just going to randomly fall asleep. And this is because orexin is really, really, really important to controlling wakefulness. So actually, when this happens, people will actually can enter a dream state while partially awake, which is called a hypnagogic hallucination. They can also get attacks of paralysis, similar to while you're sleeping, called cataplexy. So narcolepsy is pretty severe. It's a pretty bad condition, but fortunately, it's pretty uncommon. It's only about one case in about 3,000 people. So, yeah. Yeah, I tried to cover everything I could about Chapter 6. Again, Chapter 6 is a really, really confusing chapter. If you guys have any questions about this chapter, please feel free to just leave comments, and I'll answer them as best as I can. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in Chapter 7.